Hey guys, Benny here with Scenario Paintball TV. Welcome to Monday, May 14th, 2012 edition. It's a bright sunny day in Italy, and very soon, 36 hours, I will be on the ground in Germany for Malwinkle Euro Big Game. I'm stoked. I haven't played October since October. I'm gonna shoot things, even if it's myself, just to be able to shoot something. Hopefully I don't shoot myself. I might. And that's where this awful beard thing comes from. We're having a Swedish Viking beard contest. I'm going to lose, but at least I'll go down swinging with all this horrid fuzz. So, one day till I can go to Germany, 6 days till I can shave. I don't know which to be more excited about. We'll see. Anyway, if you've followed Scenario Paintball TV for very long, you know we're not really good at giving interviews. Roll the tape.
I went to Finland, and last week I was in France, and yeah, this week I'm here.
Do you recommend paintball for everyone?
Everyone should play. Men, women, children, especially children. Children are really fun to shoot at, so I recommend more little kids play paintball.
Yeah, so we're going to have to turn the sarcasm up a little bit next time because the Swedish news viewers really didn't get that. I think everyone should play paintball, but I don't take any particular joy shooting small children. They're harder targets, so you feel a little bit more satisfied. But that said, I just enjoy paintball in general, and I started when I was a little kid, and I loved it. So that's why little kids should play paintball, not because I need target practice. I'm going to go. Anyway, really cool interview series here. We've done Bob Guernsey last year. Today I'm bringing you 2 interviews from people related to, involved in Supreme Allied Commander of Oklahoma D-Day. For those of you who don't know, Oklahoma D-Day is one of the largest paintball games, if not the largest paintball game on Earth. That's right, on our planet Earth. Roll the map. On that Earth, biggest game. This year's game is going to be held June 11th to the 17th. Lots of cool information available on ddaypark.com. You can go there now. They're playing clips right on the front page of the earliest D-Day games. Those started in 1997. I think the earliest video goes back to 1998, so you can see when it was just about a 300-player game, and it's grown to 5,000 something players now, plus thousands of other families and wives, girlfriends, children who come to this event. So, massive event. Today we have the distinct pleasure of talking with Juan Parke. His codename is Beatle. He's the Supreme Allied Commander of the Allied Forces at Oklahoma D-Day. He's risen through the ranks in the last 8 years. My phone's seriously ringing. I'm on a good roll here. I'm going to ignore you. Haha. It's not my girlfriend. It's like a telemarketer insurance call. So, yeah, I'll edit some of this out. Here's Beatle in his own words in our interview conducted earlier today. All right, I clicked it. It's recording now.
There we go.
All right. Hello from Italy.
All right. Good afternoon.
Yes. It's a nice one, finally.
Oh, good.
So yeah, very informal. We just run a YouTube channel, and we interviewed Bob Guernsey last autumn, and Andy's been on me to do some stuff about Oklahoma D-Day. So.
Oh, good.
I guess, who are you? How long have you been involved in paintball?
Oh, goodness. First paintball game was in 1986.
Wow.
I was up in school in Massachusetts. And, as you know, it started up in New Hampshire. So then, we didn't really call it paintball as much as the game we played was survival. You know, and we'd capture the flag and shoot each other with spring kind of action-loaded weapons. So yeah, and then I played it a little while. I was apparently a little too intense for some of my friends. we had a situation where it was capture the flag, and there was these drain pipes, concrete drain pipes, you know, like, and it was in late November we were playing, and I figured the best way to win would be to crawl through this drain pipe, which proceeded to get really cold and really crowded. But I did. I crawled through and came up behind them and kind of shouted, and they said, "Juan, wow, Beatle,
I quit.
You need to have a little glass of wine or two before you get out of here with it."
You need to relax, not
Right.
crawl through sewage.
Right.
I hid under a bridge one time with about this much clearance.
Oh,
Everything
exactly.
was wet. The marker was dry, and my head was dry. And then I got people as they went over the bridge. So
Yeah. So see, there you go. You understand.
I know what those looks feel like when people are like, "Come on, man."
Right, exactly. When they're afraid that you might need some medication to play a game with them.
I went as far as was necessary to go.
Exactly. Well, it's a game that has winners and losers, right? So, you know.
I was willing to get wet. You were willing to crawl through drainage.
Right, exactly. So how is the game in Germany?
It is. I leave tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
And
Oh, it's next weekend.
yeah, it starts Wednesday and goes until Sunday night, I think.
Okay.
I'm excited. I was going to go last year, and I did not play paintball for 3 months. I was working on my master thesis, and
Oh.
my deal with myself was do the thesis, don't play paintball, go to Germany. And my department rescheduled my dissertation to the same weekend as Germany about 2 weeks beforehand, so I couldn't go. So I'm rewarding myself this year for work done last year, I guess.
There we go.
Good tangent.
Yes.
How did you get involved with Oklahoma D-Day? And how long have you been involved?
I've been playing. I've been at Oklahoma D-Day. This is my 8th Oklahoma D-Day.
Okay.
It started off fairly interesting as my son had come across it in one of his friends, you know, paintball magazines. And we live here in New Orleans, so we have the World War II, well, at the time it was called the D-Day Museum.
Okay.
We have the, the National Museum for the Normandy Invasion here.
Really?
In addition to that, my son and I have both been to Normandy, so we've been to the beaches. And he was talking about this game, and I think it was like 3,500 players at the time. And I said, "Dean, no, that can't be right. You mean 350. I just can't imagine 3,500 players. You mean like 350, and nah. Because I really didn't get back into playing paintball until he got old enough to play.
You got out when he was born.
What's that?
Did you get out when he was born?
Oh, no, actually way before. School and then work and things with the military and things like that took me off. So I just, played it when I was in college, and then really didn't get back until he was 8. So this would have been 2003.
Okay.
Then he's 10, it's 2005. He comes up with this idea, and I said, "Nah, I just, we were going through a divorce, so I was not, And the summer was rolling around, and I said, finally, sure, what the hell, because he did. He brought it up, looked up the website, brought me the APG article, and I said, 3,500 players, holy smokes. And then I said, no, there's no way, because it's northeastern Oklahoma. I admit I was biased. I said, it's, middle of nowhere Oklahoma. I'm coming from New Orleans, and I said, But I finally acquiesced, and I said, sure. We loaded up, we took off. I really was going with the intent of pulling up a camp chair, having a big thing of sangria and just watching it and, not really getting involved. Well, we get up there, it turns out to be everything, all my stereotypes, all my preconceptions were completely wrong. It's well organized. It's got a range of people from multiple countries, multiple states, organized, from every educational level, every profession. And I was like, holy, okay, I was wrong, I admit it. And it slowly kind of starts evolving, and that we were organized by, like you're in the military, which I'm familiar with. So we have, my son and I are in one platoon, and our platoon leader decides to kind of screw around and gets fired by the division commander. And at this point, the division commander, Cecil, comes to me and says, you know, I've talked to you. You seem like a good guy. You seem like you definitely know what you're doing. Would you like to lead this? And I said, no.
Was this game one?
What's that?
This was your first game there?
Yep.
Okay.
And I said, no. And he said, why? I said, well, actually, I'm here for my son, and if I'm now responsible for, in this case, 24 other players, or 23, including myself and my son, 25, then I really can't focus in on him. So I said, he said, all right, I understand. They really couldn't get anybody that he was really comfortable with. He comes back and he asked me a second time. I said, well, no. And so then what he did is he asked my son, he said, what do you think? Do you mind your dad leading your platoon? And my son looks at me, looks at him, says, I'd rather be led by a screw-up that I know versus one I don't. And I went, wait, I think he's like, what screw-up? And so I ended up being a platoon leader. And then I got promoted that first D-Day. And then next year I was given a company command. And then I've just kind of moved up from there. And so in 2007, I was given, 2006 we had a loss. And considering my kind of background, I kind of analyzed the loss. And I wrote for lack of a better word, a position, a briefing paper to the overall commander for the Allied Army, that we needed a more dedicated, more focused anti-tank capability.
Is that done with different colored paint, right? You don't use the Nerfs?
Yes, yes, we do it. The way it is that we use a marker and marker, a marker and a tube, so it's just another marker. So your weapon has the same range as the tank's weapon. So it makes tank killing at D-Day a little more intense than, because I've played games with Nerfs, and a Nerf, I've sat, 35, 40 yards off and lobbed it in there, and, and I suggested this, and he said, great idea, and he comes to me, about 2 weeks later, he says, I think it's a great idea, I think you should start that unit. And again, I told him, no, I'm happy where I am. My son's doing good. I'm doing good. I like Omaha Beach. I like, the intensity of it. And then again, same routine. About 2 weeks later, well, Beatle, I really think you should do this. And I said, no, I'm really good here. About 2 weeks, another 2 weeks later, he says, congratulations on taking the assignment. I appreciate it. And I go, well, I haven't. And he said, yes, you've just been voluntold. And so the 8th, 9th, and 9th got started then. And then I led it for several years. Then I was brought back. But by then I'd moved up in the organization, and I was working directly with the Supreme Allied Commander, and for both Psycho, Ken Moore, who was Supreme Allied Commander then, and then eventually Jason White, a grifter, who took over for him. And then last year I was transferred back to the 1st Division to lead it. We were very successful. I worked with a lot of other folks to develop, I guess, the winning strategy for last year. And last year was Grifters, as he promised. He had one more year, then he would step down. And then I was asked to take over and lead the entire Allied Army side.
Wow. 8 years. Whoop.
What's that?
8 years, right to the top.
Yeah, I know. It is. As everybody says, Beatle, we really expected there to be a Parke in this job. We just thought it'd be Hollywood, my son, and not me. I said, that's a fair point. So yeah, I've been very lucky. I've gotten, gained the respect and trust of a lot of the senior players there. I came in truly as kind of an outsider because there just there weren't a lot of Louisiana players. But the Allied Command has been very kind of lucky in a sense. It's been from all over. We've got, senior commanders that live in, Georgia, New Mexico, Vermont. They really are from all over. And so, as I said, the rest is history. I've now, this will be my first year as the Supreme Allied Commander, and I'm really looking forward to it.
How much work off the field is that? When were you given the position, and then, so how much time did that leave you to prepare, and what did you do to prepare in terms of, you can't meet with the people in Vermont and Mexico?
The one thing about that is that I've been very kind of involved at the interacting with the Supreme Allied Commanders, the last two, and Grifter, to his credit, really, without me knowing it, because I was not ready to take that job either, but he kind of slowly started, we started working out, management assignments, organizational things, developing organizational tools for the Army and strategy plans. And so I come to realize that this is probably one of the first times we've had a really good, clean succession. And that really was because of Grifter's, way he handled that. He kind of very knowingly kind of slowly worked me into that, such that when there was actually the transition was made, I was very familiar with most of the duties already.
Okay.
And to do. So yeah, that's this first time we actually had a handoff versus a drop off. And the last ones they kind of dropped it off on the poor guy and then didn't come back, or I didn't say, hey, look, I'm tired of it here. It is a pretty intense position, and you see burnout is not uncommon. You are responsible for the vacation and of on the Allied side of 2,000 plus some odd Allied players, and indirectly, of course, the other 2,000 some odd German players or Axis players. So, but the announcement was made that Grifter retired. The announcement was made about a couple weeks later that I'd be taking over.
Was that right after last year's game? Or?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So you were able to hit the ground running in terms of the transition, and then you've had a year now to plan for this.
Correct. And because we can't, speak to each other, we really are a virtual organization. We use, conference calls. We use, collaboration websites. A lot of stuff is done through email. I also call a lot of the folks directly. I try to make a habit of speaking to each of my senior commanders, our unit commanders, about once every 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then we have conference calls. I'm trying to reduce the amount of conference calls because there's that kind of management adage. For every person you add to a project, you decrease the efficiency of it by exponentially. So anything after about 4 people, don't expect anything to get done. But we do have, because we've got, Allied-wide Army things that we have to deal with. And a lot of the work for the game is done before we get to the hill, before we get there.
And then you're just riding the event out.
Right. And, in my case, it's a little unnerving because I said I've been a unit commander. So I've had, people in my direct command since D-Day. So there was at least a certain number of players I could turn to, and as their unit commander, have them help me get things done. Well, this is my first year where I don't have a direct unit to lead. So it's a little unnerving. I don't have and like First Division, several hundred players, all right, guys, we need to get this done. Or 899, where I had up to 75. All right, guys, we need to get this done. I have my staff, which most of them are still unit commanders, and then I do. But so it's a novel, and I don't have a direct place to camp. See, I don't have a unit to camp with. So it's a little different role from that aspect.
You're floating.
What's that?
You're floating.
Yeah, it is. Now I'm responsible for, my command is the entire Army, and not, a particular group or a particular sector. So it is kind of interesting. And that's, people always tell me, so what's your favorite marker to use? Or, they get those questions like that. I say, quite frankly, guys, my most powerful tool or weapon is the radio. Y'all are my, powerful mark, best marker. I spend more of my time with the radio, and especially for years when I was a tank hunter, I would be at D-Day and I may shoot 150, 200 rounds for 8 hours because I was either on the radio or hunting tanks or helping other people on tanks. So yeah, it is going to be different for this year. I spend more time in other camps than I ever have before.
You kind of rose through the ranks very quickly. So I had questions on here like, what should a new player expect, or advice for first-time people?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think my first bit of advice is prepare to be surprised. It's not like any other game because it is so large. And the community that's formed is so, and very powerful. 2005 was my first D-Day. I said I was just a platoon leader. We were in First Division. We were very successful. Well, in New Orleans, Hurricane Katrina will hit that August. of 2005. And I was here in New Orleans, and I ended up staying. I had calls from people that immediately had called and said, well, look, Beatle, if you in Hollywood need a place to stay, come on up. These are people that I'd met only for once. But that since we've been living together and the bonds can be so intense, I said, prepare to be surprised at how quickly you end up liking people. My son says it best, is that D-Day is a family reunion, except in this case he likes everybody there.
They're in-laws without being in-laws.
Right, exactly. And so you do develop family ties there pretty quickly. And my first bit of advice is prepare to go, be surprised. The next one is definitely camp with your unit.
Okay.
There are people that you do have options to stay in a hotel and things like that. And I'd say, no, I would definitely come stay, immerse yourself in the environment. And it is very family friendly. So if you're bringing children, don't worry about that. There's a place for every type of personality at D-Day. The next one is that a lot of the experiences that you have at your home field of dealing with, 5, 6, 10, let's say groups of 25 or 30 players at a time, does not translate as well as you think to when you have to move 300 players and you're playing on 1,000 acres. Former military experience does help, but it's not required. I think what I've noticed best is being a parent. If you're going to be a leader at D-Day, being a parent. Because you're used to having to get kids to do stuff, and you've got no other authority other than,
psychology.
Right, exactly. It's psychology, because you've got it. This is people's vacations. And we don't, you can't train all year round. They're not professionals. So you kind of have to get them to do things because they want to do it. So you have to figure out what they want and then help them make it happen. Leadership at D-Day really is a function of, are you willing to sacrifice some of your vacation to make sure somebody else's is better? Sure. The other one is you'll shoot more paint than you think, so get ready to buy, a little more paint, at least your first couple times. And another bit of advice is listen to the veterans that have been there. And they may be younger than you, substantially. But as I tell folks, my son will be 17 for this D-Day. This is his 8th one to play in. So, yes, you may be, a grown professional, a grown-up professional with kids and everything, but this 18-year-old, this 17-year-old actually knows what's happening on the field. That there are players there that, his next D-Day, not this one, but his next one, he will have been playing it half his life. And so, as I said, advice will come in, expertise will come in areas that you don't see, wouldn't expect. And the final bit of advice is get ready for it to be hot.
Yeah.
And that's, we see players, I'm from, Tennessee, or I'm from here. I said, no, it's going to be much hotter. The really deep South players, those from, Alabama and New Orleans, we're used to the heat. And it's even hot for us. It's 100 plus with just outstandingly high humidity. So drink a lot of water, get used to it. But it's going to be hot. So
is there water available on site?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Not only on site, but also in the dead zones.
Okay.
They'll bring out large military water trucks. Water buffalo, exactly. And so they're spread out throughout, and so it's almost considered standard gears to have some type of personal hydration system.
So people have no excuse. Buy a water bottle or a Camelback and bring it with you because
correct, exactly.
Water's in the dead zone. Okay.
Right, it's there, and you fill up before you leave. It's in the camping areas. Constantly hydrate. I mean, for instance, I will use a paint pod. I keep my Camelback on for when I'm out in the field, but when I go into a dead zone, I actually will fill up a paint pod so I can drink, a big slug at once. And I'll do that 2 or 3 times every time I'm in the dead zone. Make sure my Camelback's topped off and then go back out. You'll see it again. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate is the mantra of both sides and for the staff.
Yeah, and look out for each other, I guess.
Yeah, we do, and that becomes the very interesting thing is that both sides have evolved a kind of a semi-military structure where the officers are kind of responsible for what the unit is going to be doing. The NCO Corps is responsible for how the unit does it in the sense of that, are they trained, are they prepared? And also the NCO Corps is kind of responsible for taking care of the unit. You know, that their job is to make sure that they're hydrated, that you're healthy, you're happy. The officer's job is that to make sure that you know what they're going to be doing, when we're going to be doing it. And so
sort of like
you
a guided vacation.
Correct, exactly. Right, and so you do see a lot of people really do watch out, and you can see people start to overheat, and we'll kind of ask them to sit down, and we'll cool them off, and we'll get them extra water, and then they perk back up, and they're back out there, having a good time.
Do you have advice for, say, there's players, sort of in your situation, it's their first time or maybe their second time, and they've enjoyed it, but they would like to become a more part of this hierarchy, more part of this structure. How should they go about doing that? Who should they contact?
Yeah, well, since the first year player will have leaders above them, so my first bit of advice is do as good a job as possible, because we're always looking out for new leadership talent on both organizations, both the Allied and the Axis. So we really are looking for new talent because there's so much work to be done, and it tends to fall on a group of only a small number of officers. And the more that's spread out, the better it is for everybody. That's one of the things I've been very lucky is this year I have a full battle staff. So I've got, instead of me, a few of us doing the work, we've got now a group of almost 10 to 15 that are handling a lot of the Army work. So my first advice is do a good job. Next is find something that needs done for the unit and then do it. Then people will start to notice. Third is prepare to commit a lot of time. And I'm not talking about, outrageous amount of times, but prepare to commit a lot of time throughout the year, either by going out there and recruiting, posting, questions and answers to first-time players. Show that you want to be involved, be engaged. The next bit of advice would be you prepare to be there earlier in the week. Okay. You really can't be a good unit leader if you're going to be there, show up on Thursday. The game's on Saturday. You show up Thursday or Friday, it just won't work. Again, the leadership here, since there's no formal way to get players to do stuff, they'll do stuff because they like you, or they believe in you, or some combination thereof. And the only way they can get to that is by exposure with you there throughout the week. And the last bit of advice is just prepare to sacrifice, if you're willing to sacrifice a little of your enjoyment to make sure other people, you'll be tapped for leadership. Because that is ultimately what happens with leaders at D-Day. And then the payback to you is that you get to have every D-Day, I can't tell you how many times I find players or parents of their, players write me, call me, and tell me what a great time they had, and thank you, Beatle, for helping that happen, and we'll definitely be there next year. And, so you do get that payoff when you see players come back, and they're excited to come back because they had such a good time, and you're one of the reasons that they did.
All right. Anything else you want to add? I have another date with my ex-neighbor Eric Engler, because I lived right across the lake.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I lived in upstate New York, and he right across the lake from me.
Yeah, I think that this D-Day, it's the 15th anniversary.
Okay.
And so we're really excited about that. It's going to be, I think, a really good game. We've got a lot of kind of new wrinkles that have been added to the game.
Okay.
So that's going to be a lot of fun.
How many beaches are you playing with? I've read the Ambrose and a lot of D-Day history, so you've got the 5 beaches and Pegasus Bridge and...
Right. Well, in this case, we have 3 beaches. We have, I know the actual beaches were Gold, Sword, Juneau, Omaha, Utah. Right. In this case, we have Utah, Omaha, and Sword.
Okay. So you have Point du Hoc in there somewhere.
Yeah. I think that's eventually something the staff wants to add. We have a Pegasus Bridge, and it's an actual bridge.
Cool.
That the staff got several years back and put it in. And this year, the Commonwealth will be landing a glider team. They'll be, simulating, so they'll be starting with the ability to contend for Pegasus Bridge at Game On.
Ah, so they'll already be deployed on the field.
Right,
Near
Pegasus Bridge, and the Germans know, the Axis know they're deploying there, so it's going to be it's going to get Western pretty quickly. It's going to be pretty intense, really fast. And I know with the 10th anniversary of the Commonwealth as a force at D-Day, as well, coinciding with the 15th, their players are really excited about that. We have a new mini game that happens on.
Looks like we're good.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Hold on.
Let it readjust. Yep. Okay. Nope. We're fine. Still recording.
We have a new mini game on Friday, which the staff is kind of holding secret, so we won't find out any of the details until we get to D-Day.
Are we allowed to know if it's related to D-Day?
I assume it is. Actually, we have the way the game is set up is that on Saturday we have a big D-Day game, but through the week we have mini games.
Okay.
So on Monday we have a game for actually it's called the Battle for Stalingrad. So it's set in one part of the field where both sides kind of line up and they kind of really slug it out. I.e. kind of Stalingrad style where you play in a very confined space, and that one is one of my favorites.
Meat grinder.
What's that?
A meat grinder.
Yes. My experience at D-Day is on the beaches. I mean, I'm an Omaha beach player where it's, I believe probably in the first 30, 40 minutes, probably the most intense paintball you can get, because it's several hundred players shooting down on, several coming back, and you're coming off, you have a landing craft that you come across the water and you land, and it's, so I'm kind of used to kind of the more, intense type. I know on Wednesday we have a V2 rocket mission game. On Thursday we have an Operation Sea Lion.
Okay, so they're World War II themed.
Yes.
Okay.
And then Thursday, of course, we have the night game, which is one of the best.
Lit or?
No. It's lit by parachute flares.
Star
There are occasional pyrotechnics. And now so some cases they'll have, various kind of pyrotechnics and flares, and that's the only lighting. And the dead zones have lighting, but actually on the field, no, it's you play in the dark. So in this Friday game, we don't know what it is. So we're all kind of excited for that, to kind of have some surprises thrown at us.
I read somewhere about an obstacle course.
Yes, actually, that's also one of the things that I've taken a real effort to try to encourage people. And I run. You can actually see a picture of my son and I running it on my Facebook page. Okay. It's a black and white photo.
Can you send me your Facebook, and I'll put a link under the video here. But
sure.
Yeah.
And it really is a lot of fun. That runs on Wednesday.
Wednesday. Okay.
And it has, a variety of obstacles. It has a log carry. It'll have a tire run. There's a pond swim. You have to swim across a certain part. There's a rope bridge. There's an over-under. There's a low crawl. There's a water pit swing. It's one of those things that I find unique to D-Day. That I know a lot of big paintball games don't have that obstacle course, and it is something that it's fun to see the players do, particularly the younger players get excited about it, because, again, it's something they haven't been exposed to. All the former militaries, they go, and roll their eyes and say, I've been there before. But I try to encourage all the players, and myself, I'm asking at least every unit to send some folks to run it with me, because I've been running it now this will be my 4th year to run it. And it is a lot of fun.
Do you have to do it in a certain amount of time to qualify for any units?
Nope. Nope. Just finish it. And then afterwards, for everybody who participates, we go and have a raffle of things from vendors, bags of paint. The goal is here to finish it. And and I've had players help carry other players through it, so they can finish it.
Great.
Yeah. Me this year, I'm hoping to hitch a ride on our amphibious tank. But there are a lot of things to do, and with the 15th anniversary, it's going to be exciting.
So special game plan on Friday. Bring water.
Yes, very much so.
Be excited. Yeah.
No, exactly. Be excited and come early and enjoy. And it'll surprise you at how much fun you'll have. Again, my son kind of described it best. He said, "It's all a cool, you know, it's all the cool parts of camping. So, you know, when you're camping, sometimes you get bored. Well, when we do, we just go out and play paintball with 1,000 people, and then we come back to the cool parts of camping.
Skip the boredom.
Right, exactly.
All right. Well, great to talk to you. Great to meet you.
Well, when are you coming out, Ben?
I can't come this year, but
Sure. Okay. All right.
some Swedes. I've been since I was in Sweden for 3 years. There's several Swedes that want to put together a group. So I'm moving back to Sweden at the end of this month and starting a new business, and hopefully we're gonna talk at Mauwinkle about putting D-Day as the big game we want to go to next year. So not this year, but we're aiming for next year. So
Well, yeah, keep in touch, and
I will,
if you come,
I will
you gotta
let you
come
know.
play you got to come play with Allies. I'll find a good unit for you.
All right.
Well, Ben, you take care, and again, appreciate this, and I hope to talk to you soon. And again, any questions or follow-ups you have, just let me know.
Cool. All right, we'll do. Thank you.
I'll be excited to see if the new technology for the Skype recording works.
Yeah, we'll see if it works. I don't know yet.
Fair enough. Well, you have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Good afternoon. Bye.
Well, what did we learn? We learned that Skype functionality works. Maybe the split screen isn't the best idea. I can't crop out an entire person's side, so to have a back and forth, it didn't work. It was like, oh, there's my ear. But I'll fiddle with it. The audio came through. You got to see the interview. That's what's important. If you want more information about Juan, about Oklahoma D-Day, our Facebook, etc., all those links are down below. Have a good day. I'm going to get to work on interview number 2. Peace, love. See you on the field. Shoot something. Just not small children.